Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's podcast. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2013, and today we are talking about the government shutdown. What else could we possibly talk about today besides the government shutdown? The spectacle has gone something like this: debt ceiling plus Obamacare plus necessity of spending more than revenue equals chaos. But I am suspicious because politicians do not normally make principled stands, but instead they make shows of false support for the folks back home. So it seems likely that this is just political power maneuvering by both parties, so the base will be consoled. Nevertheless, the government is in the process of closing. 1789 to 2013, I guess. Rest in peace. So let's take a look at it. Referring to the federal budget, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said, quote, "There is nothing left to cut. Nothing left to cut. We're at the bone here," she said. "No waste in this house, folks." And yet about 800,000 non-essential federal employees have been furloughed. Why the government has 800,000 non-essential employees is unclear, but these people are actually on unpaid leave, but will probably have their pay returned retroactively after the shutdown is shut down, so it amounts to a vacation for them. The shutdown is bad, the government tells us, because it will have a negative effect on the American economy. $174 million per day in salaries alone from the 800,000 furloughed employees is being lost. The effects on the dollar, individuals receiving assistance, infrastructure damage, etc., all happen over time if the shutdown continues. But are there any positive sides to the shutdown? Well, yes, of course there are. For one thing, there's the $174 million per day for non-essential employees that is not being spent. That's a good thing. But for the real benefits, we have to look at what government really is and what government really does. As I've said many times, political power corrupts the mind and the morals. Its allure is irresistible to those who spend their lives in pursuit of it. Once a person has political power, what good is it unless he can use it against the powerless? Government has a license to do things that would land ordinary people in prison or worse. As Bill Bonner said, quote, "It gets to lie, cheat, steal, and even murder lawfully." And that is why a government shutdown would be a good thing. The government-sponsored, taxpayer-supported, voter-approved, Fed-financed lying, cheating, stealing, and murdering would stop, if only for a while. The shutdown is not about stopping the machinery of force. It's about who gets to use it and for what purpose. Whose property gets stolen? Who gets the stolen goods? How did all this happen to us? Well, that's like the answer to the question, how did you go bankrupt? Gradually at first, then all at once. An apathetic, complacent people led by petty and vindictive leaders and their toadies in the media for generations, administration after administration of both parties. And now we have this petty and vindictive leader leading this charade before the American people. He is very brave. What a great and brave warrior he is when he goes out to talk about how bad the Republicans are. But when he has to speak to Vladimir Putin, he has to go home and take a couple of nerve pills. What will test the obedient complicity of the American people in all this? God only knows, folks. But that's the way I see it. Wednesday, October 2nd, 2013. Until next time, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.